Hey lovelies, let's make sauerkraut. I've never had it and I've never made it. I decided to use purple cabbage because why not? It's really small because I don't know if I'm going to like it. Purple cabbage is better because it has more antioxidants than the green one. All you have to do is slice it however you want. You can use a mandolin slicer. I believe that's what that little tool is called. You know, that thing that you use to slice tomatoes. Before you start slicing, something I forgot to do is take off the outer layer before you start slicing. Don't worry about, make sure you wash it, take off the outer layer because you're going to need that later. Don't worry about pulling the pieces apart. When you start massaging it, they'll start falling apart. I soaked my cabbage for about 5 minutes in distilled water, and then I just drained it into a colander. You can soak yours as long as you want. If you buy organic, you won't have to worry about that too much. And then make sure you have a bowl that's big enough so you'll have room to work with. And then you just massage. Massage, massage, massage. Have fun with it. Get your hands dirty. You don't even have to wear gloves for this one. What you want it to do is this: start sweating. When you're massaging it after you add the salt, not only does that soften the cabbage, but it also creates a brine. The more salt you add, the more brine it makes, but you don't want to put too much salt because you don't want it to be too salty in the end. And the longer you massage it, the more brine it makes as well. Once you're done massaging it, make sure it's how you want it to be as far as the size of the slices. If it's not sliced enough for you, slice it up a little bit more. That's the brine that I created. Didn't get much brine because I knew that I was going to add water later. That part is completely up to you, but don't stress about it. Make sure you have a glass jar with a tight fitting lid. Put all of your cabbage in the jar, pack it down in there. If you have a large cabbage, you're obviously going to need a bigger jar. But the goal is to make sure that all of the cabbage is submerged under the liquid, because if you leave pieces out above the liquid, there's a possibility that you will get mold. Remember, you're sitting this out on your counter for about a week. So push it down in there. If you need more to fit, just make sure you have room. And then all you have to do, since you don't have a lot of brine, is add water. Add enough water until all of the cabbage is covered. All the way to the top is best. You can't have too much liquid, so don't worry about that part. And make sure your water is distilled. This is what I used to try and push it down in there, because the piece of cabbage that I saved, it wasn't big enough because I forgot to do that in the very beginning. So don't do what I did. This little piece, it wasn't big enough. So I had to improvise by using the glass jar to push it down in there. And luckily for me, it was perfect because my lid pushed it down even more. And that's just me checking to make sure that all of the cabbage is submerged under the water. Remember, this part is very important. You don't want to ruin your batch of sauerkraut because of one piece. And then you'll see the next day I looked at it and I could see that it was working because it's activated. So it started oozing out of the top. Put it in a bowl if you need to. And so I just wanted to open it and burp it. And just so that you can see the residue and how it looks, lets you know that it's working. Okay, lovelies. It has been 9 days, 8 days, 9 days since I started this process. Of course, you have to give it some time to actually ferment. So forgive the noise in the background. They're doing some building next door. Anyway, We're gonna try to ignore that. Okay, so let's open our jar and see how ultimately our sauerkraut turned out. And remember, sauerkraut is about gut health. It's one of the best fermented foods that you can consume. And for me, the reason why not only did I make this for myself, I wanted to teach you how to make it, is because I don't like taking a bunch of pills, store-bought pills. I'd rather do things the natural way if possible. So yeah, I don't want to buy probiotics anymore, because the best quality probiotics are the kind that should be refrigerated, and I'm not always in a position where, like, if I want to travel, go places, stay overnight, I don't have my probiotics with me because obviously I'm not walking around with the refrigerator. So this is the next best thing, or this is the best thing. I guess the next best thing would be to continue to take the pills, which I don't want to do. Okay, here we go. I struggled with, and I've never done this before, so I'm showing you in real time as I learn, trial and error. You can see the mistakes that I made so that you don't have to make the same mistakes. So let's open this jar. And initially I was trying to show you how to make sure that the cabbage stayed submerged in the water to prevent mold, and I struggled with that. So ultimately I did some research and I came up with a way to make the cabbage stay submerged, and I will talk to you about that in just a moment. This is a bag full of water. I'll tell you what that's all about in a moment. But it looks pretty good. I don't see any mold. It smells like fermentation. So it looks like we may have had some success. Let's try it. Most people don't like sauerkraut. Let me see. Tastes fine to me. It definitely tastes fermented, like maybe even like pickles. Now, you know, if you remember in the beginning, I put salt in here. So I may have put too much salt because it's a bit salty, but I'm gonna do like a spoonful, or maybe add it to a meal. You can get it in however you decide. You can just eat it right off the fork, or you can add it to a meal. I see that freaking gnat. But overall, it's not bad. I'm really proud of myself. And when you make it, you will be proud of yourself too. All right, so let's eat some more. Okay, so now I'm asking people who don't like sauerkraut, what's the big deal? It's definitely like a pickle, which is fermentation. Pickled fermentation. Ultimately, it's the same process. When people do certain things pickled, which I have another video where I'm going to teach you how to do pickled onions, they use vinegar, but it's still that same salty pickle flavor. Very good. We did it. Yes, you just give yourself like 10 days to do this process. Make sure you have a jar that's airtight. And yeah, okay, so the problem that I ran into initially was that it wasn't submerged good. So I did some research, and it said if you don't have something like one of the weights that people use when they do fermentation all of the time, if you don't have something like that, you can put water. Let me show you this. You could put water in a plastic bag. Make sure it's a clean, fresh Ziploc bag. Ultimately, you don't want to do plastic if you can help it, but it was my first time trying this. I'll know what to do next time. As a matter of fact, I'm going to show you. If you don't have one of the fermentation weights, if you don't want to invest money in getting one of those weights, then you could do this. Put some water in here, push this down in the container as you saw when I pulled it out, and make sure everything is submerged in the container. That will prevent you from mold growing around the edges because it basically pushed everything down. It's not as much water as it was in here, because what happens over time is the water starts activating, and so it depends on the container that you have. You may have to burp the container every other day to release that pressure, but you'll see. I'm going through the whole process, and you'll see, or you probably already saw in the beginning, where there's water on the counter that came out of the jar. That's because in the beginning there was a lot of fermentation happening, and so it had to relieve that pressure. So it kind of leaked out a little bit, but ultimately you can do that. But then later on I realized that I had this little glass. You can use a shot glass or something like that. and just push that down in there, all the way down in there to make sure your product is submerged, and then close the lid. Whatever you have to do to figure it out. I would say if you feel like this is something you're gonna keep doing, get one of those weights. But if you only wanna try it once, then try this. Ooh. Put the water in the bag and push that down in there until everything is submerged to see how you like it. And so that is it. And now all you have to do is put it in the refrigerator. And this is the finished product. I'm so excited about this. And I'll just take like a forkful every day, maybe twice a day. You can add it with meals. You can put it on sandwiches. From what I remember, people love putting it on hot dogs. I guess I could see why that would be good. It's a kind of equivalent to a pickle, like I said. And I see why people like that on hot dogs. You could use the red cabbage or the green cabbage, totally up to you. But yes, so ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you try this, please let me know how it turned out for you. Leave your comments in the description box or in the comment section below. If you have done fermented foods, if you have made sauerkraut, give me tips that you may have that I have never thought about. Any tips you may have, give them to me. I'm willing to look into that and see what you have to say. So thank you. Subscribe to this channel. And if you're not following me on Instagram, please do so. And also on TikTok, I have a new TikTok page, Wellness with Tamasha. Give this video a thumbs up. I love you, and I will see you in the next one.